Hey everyone, welcome back to MiniBike Mike's Garage. Well, what do you say? In today's video, we work on getting these parts put on that frame. Small hook on this side is going to hook on to, it's going to catch the back side of that bracket. Just kind of push it all in there. The hole lines up. Getting the second side to line up is a little trickier. There we go. And then hopefully I don't take you out of frame here. Put a little cotter pin in, bend it around, and call it done. I believe the XL70, the ridges might be slightly different. These are off of SL70. These are what I have, so that's what's going on here. I'm going to hit it with see how hard that is to push that on there. Not too bad. Maybe. Perfect. All right, go around and do the other side. I'm working toward putting the bike into a roller, get it up on its wheels. On the back, I think it's going to be easier to go ahead and put the rear fender on now and then put the tire on. I think it's a little harder to put the fender on with the tire already in place. So you've got this little bracket here that fits over this piece on the frame. It just slides over that, and then the fender will slide in the other half of it. And then there is this bracket that has the rubber piece that's split and it goes over top of the frame. And then that just sits back down on top of it. And then we'll get the fender and bolt that all together. So the rear fender has this bracket on it that's kind of a U shape. And it's going to fit into the little holder that I put onto the frame, slide it in place, and then hopefully your bolt holes line up here for this bracket. I like to make sure they're all kind of started in the right direction before I go cranking down on them. All right, let's move to the front and get the front forks and the front input started going together. Then we can throw some wheels on it. All right, so I have loaded the top bearing race and the bottom bearing race full of grease. And I'll put 21 ball bearings around the top here. Then I still need to load the race on this part, load it with grease. I'll put the 21 ball bearings around there and then slide it all together. Kind of get it put together here. But there is a top race. Oh, smooth as butter. If you saw one of the earlier videos where I had to replace this steering stop, it had been broken off of the frame. There it is in action, catching the little stops on each side. So hopefully that'll keep us from putting any more dents into the gas tank. Well, with that kind of buttoned up, let's see how much headache it's going to be to put the forks back up through the bottom clamp here. Now there is a left and a right. You want to make sure that the front fork that has the brake stay holder for the brake plate, you want to make sure it's on the left side. I'm going to go ahead and throw just some lube on that. I know somebody's going to say, Mike, WD-40 is not lube, but it does work pretty good. Years ago, I made a little slide hammer type tool to try and help with this. We'll see if that actually works. If I can get the screw in there. Not really. It doesn't seem particularly. Look at that. There it goes. There we go. We must just had a rusty spot or something in there that it didn't like. All right. I think we're more than good there. All right. So got to do the same thing to the other side. On to side 2. Let's see if we have any better luck with it. You know what? There does seem to be a little bit of... I probably should have cleaned those up just a little bit more. Oh, this one's going to slide just right up in there. That was an easy one. All right. Need to pull that back onto the table a little bit so it doesn't fall off. Okay, let me get the top clamp and everything to put on that, and then we'll be ready to throw a tire on it. Someone had taken off the headlight ears from this bike. If you remember right, when the very first couple videos, this bike did not have a headlight on it. So I have made a couple setups here so I can put headlights and turn signals on this bike. Okay. Put those on there. You've got this. Yeah, I know. I haven't put the clamps on or anything like that yet. There's this bolt goes in here to... So I think just like on the back where I put the fender on, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the front fender on also before I put the front tire on. It'll make putting the fender on a little easier without the tire. So there's one bolt that goes through the bracket up through the middle of the steering neck here, and then the horn bolts actually are the other two. And on the wrong side. All right, so I'll get those buzzed on, and then we'll move to the fender. If you saw an earlier video, you know that this bolt screw was broke, and there wasn't one here. I've got two Phillips or JIS screws that go on the back. So we're going to get those started to kind of hang it here. And then I've got to find another one to go on the front. So I found another screw that I think will work here. Now, full disclosure, in case anybody was wondering, I did pull back out the two on the back. I realized I forgot to put a washer between the screw and the bracket that it originally had. So, all right, so I've got all that, got everything tightened down there. We're good to go. I didn't show it in any film, but this fender has a break right there, and I just spot welded right here on the edge in the thicker material. So it's good and sturdy, but it still does have that little crack right there that's missing some paint, which is unfortunate. So, okay, I think I'm ready to throw some wheels and tires on this thing. Well, as you can tell, obviously I've flipped the bike upside down. I thought that might be easier way to put the tires on it. Gonna start with the front. Got the speedometer gear. Make sure put it on first before you put your brake plate on, so it stays lined up. I'm going to spin the brake plate, and yes, I can see the little spade part inside the speedometer. I can see that spinning, so I know that my gear is engaged properly. Let's see, it goes on that side. We've got a little spacer that fits in here. See if I can keep all this together. Oh, the washers fell out. That's not good. All right, hang on a second. I've got a washer that fits in that fork. What's going on? Washer goes here, fits in that little recessed area. This one, there was no washer, no other washer on here, so I'm not sure if it's supposed to have one or not, but it didn't have it, so I don't have one to put on there, so I'm gonna go with that. Perfect. All right, now let's swing around to the back. Well, before we can put the wheel on the bike, we have to finish installing all the parts on the wheel itself. Brand new sprocket. This is a little dust shield that fits down over it like that. Okay, then you've got your little rubber dampener, whatever you want to call these things, isolator, whatever, and they fit into the spots onto the hub like that. Press it all down in there. Then there should be, it should go down far enough to expose a groove that this snap ring needs to go down into. But I'm going to put it back the way it was when I took it off. There we go. All right, so that's all snapped down in there. We're good to go. I need to grab the brake plate, the axle, some spacers, and let's put this on the bike. The axle, the rear axle has 2 spacers on it, a wider one and a narrower one. The narrow one goes in the right here by the sprocket. The other one will go between the frame and the brake plate on the other side. Let's see. Now I need to remember that the bike's upside down, so the sprocket needs to go on this side of the bike. So we're going to bring it over here. All right, we're not worried about the orientation of that right now, really. We'll do that when we put the brake stay on. Okay, so frame. And I'm going to stick that in there just far enough to kind of hang that spacer on there. Should have grabbed a mallet. But I think we got it. The adjuster on this side. And okay. I'm just going to tighten that down just enough so it's not sliding back and forth on me. And then I will turn the bike over and yeah, we'll get a good look at it from that with sitting on its wheels. Something tells me this is not the correct axle for this bike. I don't know if any of you remember, if you saw the very first or second video when I first got the bike, it had an incorrect nut on the axle. And it was like a nylon lock nut, and the threads were gone on it, and they had just stuck a cotter pin or something through there to kind of hold it on there. Well, now I've found a nut, a castle nut or whatever you want to call those, and put it on there. But look how far out the axle sticks from the hole, or how far past the nut. And I'm not really even have it all. I can't even tighten it up. It's like I've run out of threads, and I can still move it. So I'm going to have to put a spacer or something here to push that nut out. I feel like I've got all the pieces in correctly. I mean, I don't think it's that much different from a CT70, but I'm wondering if that's not the correct axle or if I'm missing some kind of other thicker washer spacer. Not really sure. Patrick Wells, answer my question. Am I missing any pieces? I've got the brake adjuster on the left. I've got the thicker spacer here well, it'd be on the right if the bike was not upside down. So on the brake plate side, I've got that thicker washer or this thicker spacer. I've got the narrow one inside here. I've got an axle adjuster. Patrick, at Southeast Vintage Cycle Rescue, I know you just recently did one of these bikes. Was your axle that long? I'll make it work, but I don't know that that's the correct axle for this bike. Well, I've run into a bit of a situation. I thought since the bike was upside down already, before I flip it over, the brake stay, for the rear brake, it's just right here. So much easier to, put this together than when it's turned the other way around. But this goes on like this. But the problem I'm having is I put too big of a knobby tire on this. And the tire, by the time I get that, the tire is going to hit that. And that is not going to work. It's interesting that it already has, look at that, it already has grooves in it. Would the rubber wear that steel down like that? I guess it might. Yeah, that is exactly where that hits. Right there. So here's my dilemma. I do not want to alter this stock part. I could flatten this out and get that to clear and do some things, but I don't really want to do that. I want to, I don't want to mess up a stock part. So I think I'm just actually going to build another arm out of a piece of steel that I have here in the shop and save this, give it to whoever gets this bike next. Maybe they go with more of a street type tread and don't want this big knobby, and then they shouldn't have any clearance issues. But I can't put this piece on here with the tires that I have on the bike. Well, this is my solution to that problem. I have this piece, and I went ahead and painted this one silver just so to add a little contrast to it. But it's got a kind of a what I call dog leg bend in it. So it should fit right in there and clear the, oh yeah, we've got ½ inch, not quite a ½ inch, maybe, no, that's not even close to ½ inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch clearance. So we should be good. So now I can take the hardware and put this all together. Well, hopefully. Get this all buttoned up, and then we should have our brake stay that will work. And like I said, I will save that and give that to whoever gets the bike next. Stay. That's why I'm putting the kickstand on. I'm getting ready to finish up for today. And I really didn't want to put any ratchet straps on it yet, so hopefully this will keep it from falling over. I don't remember which way I took it off. That is one tough spring. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about falling over. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow or the next day. Next up, let's move to the foot brake pedal. Just a handful of parts. Obviously, you've got the brake pedal itself. You've got a return spring and then a pivot bolt. The pivot bolt will thread into the frame right here. The return spring, the small loop rests against this part of the frame, this cross piece, and then the big loop will go underneath the brake pedal itself to return that. So let's see if we can't get that all assembled. While we're here, we'll go ahead and install the brake switch. It just fits down into that little bracket. There's also a spring. I probably should have put the spring on before I installed it. Something like that. So as you press on the pedal, pulls down on the switch, turns on the light. Go ahead and finish up the brakes with the brake rod. Let's see, we got to put a Put the barrel in here. I forgot the spring. Put the spring on. I'll slide that into the barrel. There's a little washer there, and a cotter pin. Probably is way longer than it needs to be. All right, then there is a adjusting nut that gets put onto the back. So we're not worried about adjusting any of this yet because we don't have the chain and have the axle in the correct spot. But that should be the brake pedal, the foot brake pedal, all put into place. So I think I'm ready to try and set the engine back in to the frame. I went ahead and wrapped the head with some duct tape, trying to limit the amount of scratches maybe I put on. I know I might have probably been easier to put tape on the frame. I don't know. You guys were probably screaming at me too, and I didn't hear you. I probably got a little premature in putting the brake pedal on because I forgot that this bottom mounting hole here for the engine, it might be tough to put the nut on there. We'll figure it out. If we have to take the brake pedal back off, we have to take the brake pedal back off. Hopefully I stay out of view for you guys on this. I wish I did this more often and could remember how all this needs to go to fit in here smoothly, because I don't think I just did that right. There is a way to get these in here without scratching everything up. We're close. I'm so close. I'm so far away. Yeah, I've got the, oh, wait a minute. Hey, there we go. There it all fell into place. You know, I didn't scratch that too bad. All right, there is this bracketry. That mounts there. Thought it mounted there. You know what? The engine is still too far forward. I won't let that drop back far enough. I think that's the longer of the two bolts go up on top. We can swap them in a minute if we need to. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. I guess I need to put this bottom one in and see if I'm going to be able to get that nut on there before I go putting the... I'm actually going to put the two in the bottom the way it's meant to be, but... before I get too far ahead of myself, let's see if we can get a nut on this one. Yep, I did get maybe too far ahead of myself. I shouldn't have put that brake pedal on there yet. Might be able to get away with taking the brake spring off, but before I do that, we're going to see if we can make it. I know this isn't a real exciting video, but some of you make the comments every once in a while. You like seeing the real stuff happen. Well, this is as real as it gets right here, fellas. When you screw up and you gotta figure out how to, and you're too lazy to take it back apart. Oh, I'm so close. Yeah, that daggone spring is in my way. Now I've dropped it in there. All right, give me a minute. I'm gonna have to take the spring that runs the switch. You know what? Let's just do that. Let's just pull the switch back out. But I've got the nut stuck in there. Let's try this again. All right, got it. So we'll put that on there. I've got 2 bolts that go into the pad on the bottom. I kind of like to loosely get all of this assembled before I tighten everything up. All right, got that one. All right, I'm gonna take just a minute and tighten up the 2 down here, this one, and button all that up. Oh, I don't remember where the loose end was at. Oh no. Might be the end. I did have to remove the top engine mounting bolt, the bottom bracket for the air cleaner. The bolt runs through that. So I did have to take that off, just so that you know. There again, probably another item that might have been a little easier to put on had I put it on before I put the engine in. All right, I'll get that buttoned up. What is going on here? How did that go? Not really room. I guess it just went around. Must have come down. Well, hopefully the clutch cable. It's got to be something like that. All right, let me get that buttoned up, and then let's wrap this up. That's where we're stopping for today's video. I appreciate you guys following along. Obviously, I've thrown on a couple pieces to make it look a little more complete than it really is. We still have a ton of work to do. Obviously, we don't have any handlebars or headlights, any cables, tail light, the chain on the other side, wiring harnesses. But the good part is we are down to one table of parts left. We originally had 2 tables full of parts, so looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's been slow going. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. Those of you who know what's going on in my life with my father and having to be away from the shop and helping Dad. So appreciate you hanging in there. The big elephant in the room is still this guy, and it's pretty rusty inside there. Yeah, I might be able to do this one-handed. So you can kind of see how rusty it is. We're going to try some of this stuff. Pick this up at one of the local Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Menards type stores. I'm not exactly sure where I got it now, but we're going to see if that will clean up the inside. But that's on the next video. So if you guys have used this before, got any comments on it, leave them down below. Let me know, or what your secrets are for getting the tank a little bit cleaner. I'm not worried about all the dents and stuff. That's just going to be the way it is, but I do want to get the inside to where it doesn't keep plugging up filters and carburetors. Guys, gals, everybody that watches, I certainly do appreciate that you do watch, that you do comment, like, subscribe, all those sorts of things. This project has taken me a little bit longer than what I actually anticipated. Some of you who watch my videos on a regular basis understand why. There's going to be one more video. We still have all the other parts to put on this, and then we'll hopefully fire this thing up, take it for a rip, and then move it along to one of you. If you are interested in this, my email is ct70help@gmail.com. Scoot me over an email and let me know if you think you'd like to own this. I can't keep all these bikes. I certainly do appreciate, not appreciate, but I certainly do enjoy working on these things and kind of bringing them back to life. Is it perfect? No, it wasn't, and it's not meant to be perfect. I just try and get them up into runners and riders, and then hopefully pass them on to somebody else who can take them to the next level. So, all right, with all that said, appreciate it. I'll see you on the next video. It may be a couple weeks before we get this thing wrapped up, but eventually we'll take this for a spin. See ya.